talk about DevOps culture. How many of you have seen this kind of definition of DevOps? Culture, automation, lean, metric sharing. Some of you have. Okay, mostly when people are talking about DevOps, they talk about automation and metrics and all the cool stuff, all the tools and technology and that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love technology and I love tools and all that kind of shit, but you know, on the other hand, culture is something that is not spoken too much of. So that is why I want to talk a little bit about culture, how to foster DevOps culture. Some information on me. I have background. I've been last 1.5 years product owner of Cybercom Cloud, so we have been building DevOps culture there while building the product, and these little examples come from that background. You can reach me at Twitter. You can find me at LinkedIn, and you can email me also if you have some questions. And of course, by any means, grab me by my sleeve if in the after party if I go there. I'm not sure yet. Hope you all go there. Okay, culture. What is the definition of culture? What is culture? I pulled some definition of culture from the internet and picked up some words, some important words or definitions which describe the culture pretty well, I think. It's all about traditions, how people are used to behave and how people are used to do some things. It's also about attitudes. And then it's feelings, beliefs, values, knowledge, and ideas. So it's basically human stuff. It's not technology, it's human stuff. How people think and how people behave. And then how many of you think that it's easy to change engineers how to think of something they have used to do? Do you think it's easy? No, okay, I agree. I'm an engineer too, but I like to believe that I'm really kind of open to change and open to new things. It isn't so, trust me. Okay, a little bit about the context which I'm speaking of. Cybercom Cloud is a cloud service consisting of different kind of components. It has customer portal, the UI, fancy stuff. It has API, then there's the OpenStack platform, and then there's the reporting stuff that makes you invoices and all the usage reporting for users, and of course there's infrastructure, all the hardware, such as networking and all the virtualization and the bare metal. Here's a timeline of our development, kind of location-wise. We started at 2013 with 2 locations at Helsinki and at Tampere, 2 teams, that is, and then pretty quickly expanded to Turku and Warsaw. So basically we had 4 locations where we developed the product. And okay, on hindsight, it wasn't the best possible decision, but you know, sometimes you have to just kind of make these kinds of decisions based on people you have and what kind of expertise you have available at the moment. We went on almost a year with 4 different sites and then began to scale down gradually. And then currently the whole product is developed in 1 single location. And then I'm pretty sure that everybody agrees that it's the most easy way to kind of develop something, to have everybody in a single room and everybody in a single location. Here's an excellent book. How many of you have read the Phoenix Project? Some of you. I really recommend you to read that one. It's not a reference book. It's more like novel describing, telling a story of a company having big, huge troubles with IT and then overcoming them with kind of using DevOps things and here are the 3 different kind of main principles which the book describes how to make things DevOps, if you want to say it that way. The first way is systems thinking, applying systems thinking to everything you do, and the second way is having a feedback loop and amplifying those. Third way is the culture of continual experimentation and learning, so basically continuous improvement. Let's talk about systems thinking a little bit. Okay, here's my favorite quote. There are no evil people, just bad systems rewarding harmful behavior. So basically everybody always tries to do their best, but it's not easy when you have a kind of common. You have traditions. How do you do things and how you are used to do some things. It's not easy to change them. How many of you know what is your definition of done? Well, that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary because there was something like 10% of the people. Okay. I say that definition done is basically one of the things that define how you are gonna. Are you thinking your project in a system wise or not? And here's one take in advance. You have to make it simple, but not too simple. Here are 3 examples of definition of done. On the left-hand side, there's some examples what you could have in definition of done. For example, you have test cases defined and you have no regression, and then you have defined analytics for the feature, and then you have monitoring defined and implemented, and also you have operational docs, and perhaps you have made some internal trials also and code reviews as well. Okay, that's one option. Then in the middle there's a little bit more elaborate version of definition of done, so to speak, and on the right hand side not so elaborated. Okay, the definition of done kind of defines what you will be doing, and if you're having that kind of definition of done, you are not thinking in a system way. You are not thinking as a whole system. It's just you could say it's a joke. Or on the other hand, the middle one is way too detailed, and perhaps it's a automation to-do list, what you should automate. So one more question. How many times your definition of done has been changing in the past year? 1 time? 2 times? 5 or more times? Okay. In my opinion, it should change all the time, or it should evolve all the time, because it's something about learning. When you learn more about your process and about what is important, what is not, then you should also change the definition of done. But let's talk about it more later. Okay. Do you know value stream mapping? How many of you have done kind of some kind of value stream mapping exercise on your project or on your product? We have learned that it's very good tool of learning what do you know and what do you do not know. Usually you start with you define something that what is the outcome of what is the value you are producing in your project. There are some artifacts, perhaps some features, some documents, something that is useful for the customers and for the users. And then you start to kind of build up from the end, and that you define the steps you are taking towards that outcome. So here's some, you have communication, and then deployment, testing, and so on, and then you just go define all the steps that are necessary to produce the output you need. Also, you are gonna also define, also you find out what are the delays between those steps, and then by kind of finding out what are the delays, you find out what you could improve in your process if you want to make the process more shorter. Usually you find out also, or at least we found out that the end of this value stream is kind of easy to come up with, but the further you go to the upstream, the harder it becomes define what really happens there and what are the delays. So basically this is a tool for improving your process. Okay, then there's two ways of seeing the system. You can see it as components, or you can see it as features. I think I can say that it's more common to see it, to split up your work in component-wise, like in the left-hand side. We have a customer portal, we have API platform, etc. And it's easy to divide the work, especially when you are working in multiple sites with multiple teams. It's really easy to divide the work component-wise. But when it comes to systems thinking, at least we have learned it's not the best option, because those teams or units of work, they tend to become kind of isolated and regarding a whole system, they tend to become sub-optimized. So when you are sub-optimizing, you are not optimizing the whole product. And by optimizing, I mean optimizing the development process and use of tools and use of technologies and on the other hand, kind of just figuring out what to build. It's not always very evident when you are kind of building a feature, what are you are building actually. So basically the left-hand side is something we began with, and then eventually we try to get more and more to the right-hand side, to split the work feature-wise, and try to make the teams and the locations work as kind of feature teams. But you know, it's not easy, and the outcome wasn't that good with 4 different sites in 2 countries and 4 different cities, and This is a good quote from our Polish team about transforming into feature teams. So Michael Dean in Poland said that painting a cow pink won't turn it into a pig. So if you are saying that you are feature teams, it's not enough. You have to act like being feature team. And then with multiple sites, it's not easy. Feedback. Sorry. More quotes. There is no failure, there's only feedback. And then one takeaway, you should make it visible as possible. There are tools and technologies which help you to kind of get feedback. Continuous delivery is one, and of course it incorporates automated tests. Monitoring is one, something you have in production and hopefully also in staging environments and so on as well, in order to kind of practice the production in the early phase. How many of you know this book? Okay, that second book I want you to read. It's a very good kind of overall description what continuous delivery is about, and it has really good practical advices on for example automating tests. It has some rule of thumbs whether you are kind of building a brand new product from the scratch or in the middle of project or trying to automate, trying to get some legacy product automated. These are some kind of tools from technology perspective, but and okay, this was some in an odd place. There's basically, when I said you have to make it visible, it's all about showing it to people. Here's our information radiator on our kind of the build process. Everything is green, not very usual, but I managed to grab a picture of it when it was green. Lucky me, and I guarantee it's not photoshopped. And then of course then some sprint metrics and then some whiteboards which are orange actually, and then all the stuff. Just make it visible. So, what you can't see, you cannot gonna act on. Okay, other perspective from getting feedback. Okay, something happened. Okay, it's good. Getting feedback. I think this is even more important cultural-wise than the getting feedback from with the help of technology. It's about talking with your customers, talking with the users. While building the Cybercom cloud and developing it, we had kind of regular meetings with customers and almost all the meetings also the development team was present or at least part of the development team. And there's no kind of greater way to get information to developers what to build and what are the problems, what are the priorities of the development than let them talk to customers and let them discuss with customers. There were regular meetings, but also we have a kind of IRC channel where all our developers are, and also some of customers are. So the communication is every day, and even better when it's every day and it's IRC, all the kind of technical people talking with each other. It's kind of in a free format and in a very kind of relaxed way of communication. It's not formal at all or any kind of stiff stuff. No bow ties or jackets or so. Then you could release some features as internal beta to internal customers and get feedback. I think that's the most. The earlier you get the feedback, the better it is, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows that when you find some trouble in production, it is the most expensive trouble you can get. The least expensive trouble is when you get in the first phase, let's say automated smoke tests or something like that. But even better, but it is good to have kind of some kind of feedback from customers from early beta than in the full production. So it's the worst to get caught kind of your pants down in a production. So it's all about releasing early and kind of believing that this feature is so ready that we can try it. It's really hard. It's really hard to kind of let your work go on public and say that I know this is not complete, but please give me feedback. Yeah. Okay, release blocks, way of communicating and way of giving some more elaborate information on features. It's a whole different story of kind of just giving the feature to users and say that use it. Here's the documentation. Then actually kind of describing it or describing how to use it. You get comments and out of it, and also some critique that is this really something that we gonna need to have. Okay, continuous learning. Again, about failing. Once you stop failing, you stop learning. So this is something to do with let's say, lean startup. Lean startup has the principle that you have to fail often and you have to fail early and you have to get kind of good feedback as soon as possible and as often as possible. In order, failing is funny thing because let's ask, how many of you like to fail? Okay, it's perfectly natural that you don't want to fail. You want to always succeed, and it's not easy to fail. But in order to learn, you have to fail, and to kind of foster that kind of culture of failing, you have to make failing easy and as less pain as kind of less painful as possible. So it is something to do with minds of people, and there's no easy recipes for that. You just have to kind of create nice environment where everybody feels kind of comfortable of failing, and I have to say, we have failed miserably sometimes, and it's easy to start blaming, but it kind of essential to remember that things happen, and whether sometimes even if you do your best, it's not enough and you fail. But the positive side, you learn. Okay, communications as learning. 4 sides. When you have communications between 2 sides, it's kind of one connection. Tampere talks with Helsinki, and Helsinki talks with Tampere, and then you add one other side, Warsaw. Then Helsinki talks with Tampere again, and otherwise around. Helsinki talks with Warsaw. The number of connections expands quite rapidly, and then you add the 4th side, and then you have the whole mess. When you add more sides, then it... Come again? Are you sure there should be an arrow between Turku and Tampere? Now that you mentioned, no. But it's a reality. It's a reality. Okay, there is a reason why kind of agile gurus say that the optimum size of team is 5 plus minus 2. It's all the thing. It's about connections and about communication. Communication gets really hard when there are multiple kind of, let's say, instances communicating, and whether it's a team or location or person. So as you saw from in the beginning, I showed you the timeline of how our team setup evolved. It began with 2 teams and expanded to 4 teams, and then we scaled down only to 1 location, 1 team, and then this is basically the reason. It's a lot easier to communicate when we are co-located and in the same room, and then it's a lot easier. It's faster to learn when people are in the same room. Why is it so hard to kind of communicate between multiple sites? Well, here's some graph for effectiveness of communication, and as you can see, the most effective way is to kind of stand up and talk and draw something in the wall, and that's very difficult when you have multiple sites. Of course, there are some technological solutions as you could kind of set up a webcam and a huge screen which is always on, and you have audio connection between sites. But let's say you have 4 sites, you have 4 monitors, 4 webcams, and it's a mess. It's a mess. So it's more easy to kind of be in one room, communicating face to face with whiteboards, and next best is using some video or something like that. IRC wasn't mentioned here, but I added it somewhere there. It's little better than email, which is worst of all. Don't use email. Don't use email. But it's still it's written format, so it's a little bit cumbersome. So okay, you could argue that you can kind of make these things easier by kind of having kind of scheduled meetings for instance daily stand-ups. So everybody is in one place or one video chat or telco, whatever. But on the other hand, it's not all the communications that is happening in the project. There are planned communications, all the events, kickoffs, stand-ups, retrospectives like that, which of course gather people in the same place and gonna provide the situation for communicating in one spot. But I have to say that most of the communication is done ad hoc. You gonna come up with some idea. You have to. You want to gonna share it with somebody else in the team. So which is more likely? Do you tell your idea the person sitting next to you, or do you phone, or do you write email to Poland, or it should be pretty evident. So I'm just kind of emphasizing that the importance of people being as near as possible each other and having as much communication possibilities, kind of direct communication possibilities as possible. Okay. Failing. When shit hits the fan, what do? You should always do some kind of post-mortem autopsy, if you will. There's basically 3 points we are doing all the time. Something bad happens. We are building up analysis and timeline, what happened and when it happened, to get the kind of everybody on the same page. What was the order of anything that happened, and then we try to find root cause in order to kind of learn something. It's really hard to find the root cause, because it isn't always something you kind of can tell. It was this. It might be something in the ballpark of that, and basically you just try to do your best. The most important thing is that you always do this, even though that you know that the outcome won't be perfect all the time, but even with the imperfect outcome, you will learn something, and you get kind of you build up a tradition of learning from your mistakes. But the most important thing is the improvements. That okay, you have learned something, but there's no benefit in learning if you are not changing your behavior. So on every kind of post-mortem, you have also kind of list of to-dos items what you will change. How do you change your process? How do you change your technology or your solutions, so that this kind of incident won't happen never again? And as I mentioned earlier, there's a kind of making it all visible. You can have fail wall somewhere in public. This fail wall is a right outside in the corridor, right outside of the project room, so everybody can see it. Everybody can go and see what are the latest fails the team has had, and or the other hand, the whole unit has had. And hopefully somebody else also outside the team will kind of learn something out of it. Or in the best case, they can provide some kind of solution of that for that kind of fail if we weren't able to kind of figure out what happened or what we should fix. Also, you should have it on Confluence or some kind of similar wiki for everybody to have, and have some kind of record what has happened and what are the previous incidents. Then we have had hackathons. I think every 6 months at least we have had 2 or 3 days where we gathered everybody the same place, usually to Tampere, and all the Polish guys came there as well. So it was the complete team from every side. We had some kind of topic every time. In one kickoff we were improving our deployment pipeline. It was 1.5 days of hard work and defining what should be our delivery pipeline and then just implementing it. Some other event we were in 1.5 days we were building up a whole feature. We were defining it and then building it up. And one tool we were using was Design Studio. It's a methodology that comes from Lean UX. How many of you know the book? Good. Even though it's about creating user experience, it has some good tools. For instance, the Design Studio, which can be used to kind of build up common understanding what we are building. It's fun. Even all the engineers like to draw pictures and you know it's like being in a kindergarten. It's fun. Okay. Sum it up. Make it simple, make it visible, and make it evolve. That's all I have to say. Thank you.